Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk about Stranger Things 4, Season 4. Actually, spoilers for all of Stranger Things in this content. And we're going to talk about Satanic Panic. All right, it's time. It's time to have a longer, broader, more mature conversation about the Satanic Panic. I love Dungeons and Dragons, right? And one of the things, and I really want the discipline of Dungeons and Dragons commentary to grow. I don't know if you know this, but like the sports commentary. There was a show, I think it was called, I can't even remember the name of it. It came out like in the early 2000s. Like Aaron Sorkin was connected to it, right? And it talked about sports commentary. There was a point where sports commentary started to be taken very, very seriously. And Dungeons and Dragons commentary is the same thing. It's a growing discipline. It's really important, right? And one of the things that you do when you go into commentary is you don't take the first take and just spout it off again and again and again, right? You look for that deeper layer that was missed previously, right? That new understanding, right? And a deeper understanding, right? And I really think it's time to have a conversation about the Satanic Panic. I'm going to skip to I'm going to say the important part first, right? So you know where we're going. Let's talk about it. I think this, there's almost no way to understand this, but the Satanic Panic clearly, in my humble opinion, clearly helped Dungeons and Dragons. And it's also clear now that not everybody hated the Satanic Panic. I think there were quite a few groups that people would be quite surprised to realize now were quite happy with the Satanic Panic, right? Around, and specifically how it impacted Dungeons and Dragons. And Dungeons and Dragons came out the other side almost like we are very, like, this has been around for a long time, but like changes happen so frequently now. Just so you're aware, there were hundreds of new billionaires minted from the March 2020 problem. It was a huge problem, right? But sometimes major problems happen, but specific groups massively benefit, right? And the reality is, I think, in my humble opinion, if you look at the Satanic Panic, you can tell it massively helped Dungeons and Dragons. And I want to look at it in depth and start to talk about why, okay? All right, so first of all, Dungeons and Dragons, right? 1974, 2022, right? And in between like 1982 and 1988, no, you know what? I think it went back to about 1980 to 1988. Satanic Panic was affecting Dungeons and Dragons at some level or another, right? It truly is done today. Like, people play Dungeons and Dragons in elementary school. So there's some commentaries out there that want to squawk and say that, Satanic Panic is that their religious groups are still, oppressing Dungeons and Dragons players. Religious groups don't care about Dungeons and Dragons right now because they got way bigger fish to fry. Okay, like their kids are under dangerous from far more dangerous sources than Dungeons and Dragons now. But in the 80s, this was very real. Okay, so one of the things. So let's look at what's happening with Stranger Things and the Satanic Panic. So first of all, it is my humble opinion that what is said in Stranger Things Season 4 is not Netflix's and the Duffer Brothers story. It's Netflix's story, the Duffer Brothers story, and Wizards of the Coast story, right? And the reason why is there's an open line of communication, and essentially the Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeons and Dragons Stranger Things box set serves as a lifeline where Wizards of the Coast and Netflix know they're in a symbiotic relationship, and that they are both being massively aided by this relationship that has been born through Stranger Things. This is no small thing. This is a very big deal, right? And so I actually think Stranger Things is one of the first times ever that the owners of Dungeons and Dragons are having an open conversation with the American public about the Satanic Panic, right? And Eddie Munson, the character in Stranger Things 4, is like, they are running headlong into this, right? And one of the things, when you look at Eddie Munson, right, who is, in my humble opinion, the Tier 1 Dungeon Master template being presented by Netflix and Wizards of the Coast simultaneously, right? he is very, very happy that the Satanic Panic is surrounding Dungeons and Dragons. He is running headlong into it. He's in a high school, literally clothing his followers, right? Like, his fellow Dungeons Dragons participants with, that's a better term, with this, with the Hellfire Club thing, and it's literally got a Satan head on it, right? Like it's a demonic head right on his shirt, right? And he's thrilled that the Satanic Panic has been connected to Dungeons and Dragons. Why would Dungeon Masters and Dungeons and Dragons players in the 80s be just thrilled that the Satanic Panic has been connected to their specific to their specific campaign, right? Their D&D campaign. Well, it did have some benefits. The Satanic Panic had some clear benefits. By the way, I'm not going to tell you about the problems of the Satanic Panic, right? You know why? Because you can find it on 100 videos already here on YouTube. The problems of the Satanic Panic have been fully documented, right? What I want to do is I want to talk about the benefits of the Satanic Panic, right? There were Dungeon Masters and there were Dungeons and Dragons players who saw the benefit of the Satanic Panic, right? Being connected specifically to Dungeons and Dragons, right? So why would they do that? Well, for one, Eddie Munson was like, yes, right? It made people in the school fear him, right? And here's the thing. Eddie Munson didn't want to be forgot. He didn't want to be ignored, right? And he wasn't, right? Dustin and Mike are like, we're nerds, right? We're shoved off to the side. We're ignored. We're bullied, right? And Eddie Munson was like, I'm feared, right? And it meant the attention was on him, and he wasn't forgotten, and he wasn't being ignored. Very smart guy, Eddie Munson, the Stranger Things Season 4 Dungeon Master. And I think tens of thousands of Dungeon Masters back in the 80s were exactly like this. They're like, hey, that mad group, Mothers Against Dungeons and Dragons, they're not wrong. Dungeons and Dragons is not Chutes and Ladders. This thing is more than a game. And that's what the Satanic Panic was saying, right? And get this. So I have this incredibly unique view of Dungeons and Dragons. It's called the Unbound identity theory. If you don't know what it is, the link's below. You got some homework. Sorry about that. All right. So I have this theory, this Unbound identity theory. So get this. I believe exactly what the Satanic Panic believed about Dungeons and Dragons, right? With one parameter changed. They were like, this is not a game. This is way more than a game. They were 100% right. Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion, the Satanic Panic was 100% right. Dungeons & Dragons is not a game. They could see that in 1980, right? Like, and get this, Stranger Things says this in episode 1 at the very beginning, right? Nancy Wheeler and Mike Wheeler's mom, I think her name is it Carol? I think it literally is Carol. Yeah. It's Carol. Right, so Carol says, have you guys been playing Dungeons & Dragons for 10 hours? And they're like, yes, we literally forgot how long we've been playing, and 10 hours is not enough time, right? No game in the world is like that. There's no game where you forget that you're playing for 10 hours, and then you're like, and I need more time, right? Like, the Satanic Panic people were right. This is not a game. What they were wrong about was what it was doing to kids. It actually was improving them, not deteriorating them or draining them, right? So that's the issue. Is Satanic Panic was 100% correct, in my humble opinion, that Dungeons & Dragons is not a game. They saw that in 1980. They saw that clear as day because all the clues are there, right? But just like people were blind back then and got it wrong, is that Dungeons & Dragons is not a cult. Dungeons & Dragons isn't about Satan, right? They were wrong about that, but they were 100% right that Dungeons & Dragons is not a game, in my humble opinion. So that is a really, really fascinating aspect of the Satanic Panic, right? And there were many, many players who understood that Mothers Against Dungeons & Dragons were spot on. and knew that what they were doing was not just another Chutes and Ladders, was not just chess, it was not just Monopoly. There was something fundamentally different happening, right? And so Eddie Munson was like, yes, you see me, you fear me, right? And I wish that you loved me or cared about me or liked me, but you know what? I'll take fear over being ignored. I'll take fear over not mattering, right? And Eddie Munson in his high school mattered. He was a king, right? He was moving forward and making his world more, and making everything around him matter, right? Through Dungeons and Dragons, right? So that's just one aspect of where, and the point here is, the Satanic Panic was not wrong. There is something fundamentally different about Dungeons and Dragons. The frequency it resonates on is not normal. It is not Muggle stuff. It is special and unique. They were wrong that it was disadvantageous. It is advantageous. They were wrong on that attribute, but their fundamental premise was not wrong, in my humble opinion. That's my opinion. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.